Before we start, is my hair looks good?
Hey everyone! I work from home, so I'm sitting in this office for at least 8 hours every single day. And honestly, I have just one minor complaint about the room. This nice east-facing window. Every single morning the sun rises and shines directly in my face. It's not the best way to start a day, especially if you are trying to focus on work. Last month, we did a review of the ThirdReality smart blinds. They were awesome blinds, solid performance for the price. Shortly after publishing that review, another company reached out and asked if we would be interested in testing their custom-made smart blinds. Naturally, I said yes. Today, we are taking a look at SmartWave smart blinds. Full disclosure, SmartWave sent these blinds to the channel free of charge for review. They did not pay for the review, they don't get to approve what I'm about to say, and they're watching this review at exactly the same time you are. After living with these blinds for several weeks, I found quite a few things to like, and a couple of things I think could be better. So let's start from the beginning. Ordering. So, what makes these shades different from the ThirdReality blinds we reviewed? These are not off-the-shelf products. Every single shade is custom built specifically for your window. As usual, you start your journey with measurements. Their website walks you through everything step by step, including exactly where to measure and how many measurements to take. And honestly, I wish more companies documented this part as well as SmartWave does. For inside-mounted shades, you will measure the width in 3 different places, the height in the 3 different places, and then use those measurements according to their instructions. Pro tip: if you have a level, check that your frame is not crooked. If your frame leans slightly, ordering blinds that are exactly the width size might cause the fabric or bottom bar to rub against the frame every time they move. That can eventually scrape paint or simply make the shades noisier. It's a tiny thing, but it's worth checking before spending hundreds of dollars on custom blinds. Believe me, you want to follow these measurements instructions because your blinds will be custom manufactured specifically for your window. You can and you should aim for 1/8 inch accuracy. In my case, the measurements came out to 46.5 inch wide and 58.75 inch high. Once your measurements are done, it's time for the fun part, customization. And honestly, these might be the most customizable smart blinds I've ever configured. First, you choose the collection. SmartWave offers a surprisingly large number of different materials, textures, and colors. For this review, I'm choosing the Wilderness collection in medium gray. If you are trying to match existing furniture or wall color, there is also an option to order material samples before buying. I absolutely love these. Photos on websites never perfectly represent colors. Being able to actually hold the material in your room under your own lighting conditions is incredibly helpful. After selecting the fabric, you enter your window dimensions. Next comes one of the most important decisions, the motor. There are 2 main choices, a standard RF motor that works with the included remote, or Matter over Thread motor, which is the version I'm reviewing today. If you are building a modern smart home, Matter is definitely the option I would recommend. It works locally, does not require a manufacturer-specific hub, and can integrate with Apple Home, Google Home, Alexa, Samsung SmartThing, and Home Assistant through Matter. Back to ordering. Then you choose things like which side of the motor should be on, where the fabric rolls in front or behind the tube, battery powered or hardwired, optional remote controls, wall switches, even the solar charging panel if you would like the battery to stay topped off automatically. Finally, you can customize all the finishing touches. I'm choosing a cassette valance because I think it gives the window a much cleaner appearance. I am also matching the bottom hem to the fabric color. It's one of those small details that makes the finished installation looks much more premium. By the time everything was configured, my total came to about $476 for the single window. And let's be honest, that's expensive. The big question for today's review is where these blinds actually justify this price. Unboxing. About 2 weeks later, the package arrived, and the very first thing that stood out was the box. Seriously, the box is reinforced on both ends, it's secured with screws, and everything inside is packed incredibly tightly. I will not be surprised if this box can survive any delivery service in the US. With this kind of care, obviously, my package arrived undamaged. Inside, you will find the shade itself, all of the mounting hardware, USB-C charging cable, printed manuals, and whatever optional accessories you ordered. In my case, that included the remote control, the wall switch, and the solar charging panel. Everything was individually packed and nothing shifted during shipping. Installation. Now it's time to get these blinds on the wall. Before we start, I want to give SmartWave credit for something that often gets overlooked: the documentation. I know, getting excited about instruction manuals probably isn't the most entertaining things you will hear today. But honestly, these are some of the best installation guides I've seen from a smart home company. Everything is clearly illustrated, printed in color, and walks you through each installation type step by step. There are separate instructions for installation and smart home setup, so you're not flipping through a giant manual trying to find the one page you need. If you're installing your very first set of blinds, you will appreciate it. If you have installed dozens, you will probably never open the manual. But I would rather have good documentation and not need it than the other way around. The installation itself is surprisingly straightforward. First, remove your old blinds if you have any. Next, position the mounting brackets. The manual recommends placing the first and last brackets at least 6 inches from each end, then spacing the remaining brackets evenly across the width. Here is another nice little trick. Instead of measuring the front edge of every bracket individually, use a straight edge or a level to draw one alignment line across the window frame. That way, every bracket ends up perfectly aligned. I am actually using my level as a spacer because it's exactly the depth I need. Simple, and it works. Another nice touch is that SmartWave includes pre-cut 3M double-sided adhesive pads. These serve 2 purposes. First, they temporarily hold the brackets exactly where you want them while you're driving in the screws. Second, they act as vibration dampers once everything is installed, reducing noise and preventing any tiny movement over time. It's a small detail, but thoughtful design choice. Once you're happy with the positioning, I recommend doing a small pilot hole if you're mounting into wood. It makes installation easier and helps prevent splitting. If you don't have a drill handy, you can still drive the screw directly. You will just need a little more effort. Now comes the satisfying part. Leave the shade into place, align it with the brackets, and push. Click, that's it. It locks securely into place. After everything is mounted, remove the protective paper wrapping around the fabric and you're done. Honestly, the entire installation took me less time than I expected. The remotes arrive prepared from the factory. That's another small quality of life improvements. No programming necessary by default. Just install the blinds, pick up the remote, and it works. Before we jump into the smart home portion of this video, if you are enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and consider subscribing. We are still a small channel and every subscriber genuinely helps us making videos like this. Now let's make these blinds smart. Apple Home. I'm going to start with Apple Home because it's probably the simplest setup experience. I expect a similar one for Google Home, Alexa, and SmartThings. To pair the blinds, you first need to put them into pairing mode. There are actually two ways to do this. You can press the button directly on the motor or use a button combination on the included remote. Again, SmartWave includes a dedicated color guide showing exactly how to do it. So there is very little guesswork involved. Once the blinds are in pairing mode, open the Home app, tap Add Accessory, then either scan the Matter QR code or manually enter the setup code. One detail I really appreciate is that SmartWave places multiple QR code stickers on the blinds. There is one on the cassette and another on the side of the bottom bar. So if you forget to take a photo of the code before installation, you do not have to remove the entire blinds just to pair it. The rest is exactly what you would expect from Matter. Apple Home recognizes the blinds almost immediately. Assign them to a room, give them a name, done. From there, you can open and close them, set any position between fully open and fully closed, check battery level, include them in scenes and automations. Everything happens locally over Matter and Thread, so commands feel almost instant. If you are already invested in the Apple ecosystem, I honestly don't think you will have any trouble getting disconnected. Of course, Apple Home automations are fairly basic. For many people, that's completely enough. But if you are watching this channel, I'm guessing you probably want something a little more advanced. So let's talk about Home Assistant. Home Assistant. So far, installation has been easy. The build quality is excellent and everything feels like a premium product. The only question left is how well this actually integrates into real smart home. Let's find out. If you watched my Aqara videos, you have probably heard me complain about Matter over Thread before. Not because Matter is bad. Actually, I think Matter is exactly where the smart home industry should be heading. The challenge is that Home Assistant currently expects your Thread network to be configured correctly, and depending on your setup, that can take a little work. In my case, I already had an Apple Home Mini acting as my Thread border router. To get everything working properly with Home Assistant, I had to move border router onto the same VLAN as Home Assistant. Make sure IPv6 was enabled. Configure MDNS correctly. Reboot the border router so everything advertised properly. If that sentence made perfect sense, you are probably an advanced Home Assistant user. If it sounded like complete gibberish, don't worry, you probably will not even need to do any of it. And I really want to emphasize something here. This is not a SmartWave problem. It's not even only a Home Assistant problem. It's simply the current state of Matter over Thread in advanced networking environments. If you're running multiple VLANs, custom firewalls, or segmented IoT networks, you will probably spend time making everything cooperate. Once those prerequisites are in place, adding the blinds is easy. Matter over Thread devices generally require a few apps and integrations. Open Thread border router, Matter server, Home Assistant Matter integration. Adding the blinds to Home Assistant is actually pretty straightforward. Start by adding a new Matter device. Choose the device is already paired with another Matter controller, Apple Home in our case. On your phone, put the blinds back into pairing mode. Copy the new Matter pairing code. Enter that code into Home Assistant. Wait about a minute and the blinds appear. This is one of the Matter's biggest advantages. The same device can be securely shared across multiple smart home platforms without factory resetting it. So I can use Apple Home and Home Assistant at the same time. No HACS, no cloud bridges, no vendor-specific integrations. Just Matter working the way it's supposed to. Once connected, Home Assistant exposes everything you would expect. You can control the position of the blinds, monitor battery level, create automations, build dashboards, or integrate them with just about every other smart device in your house. And that's where Home Assistant really starts to shine. More advanced automation. At this point, the blinds are connected to Home Assistant. For a lot of people, that's already enough. You can create schedules, open them at sunrise, close them at sunset, maybe have them close when the TV turns on. But my goal was a little different. Remember the problem I mentioned at the beginning of this video? The morning sun. The issue is not simply what time the sun comes up. The problem is that the sun doesn't hit this window at the same time every day. In the summer, it's much early, in the winter, it's later, and the angle changes through the year. If I simply tell the blinds to open to 50% at 8 a.m., sometimes the sun is already blasting into my office, other times there is barely any sunlight at all. Also, you may want to depend on how cloudy it is outside. So instead of scheduling the blinds, I wanted the blinds to react to the sun itself. To make that happen, I'm using one of the Home Assistant integration, Adaptive Cover. It's available through HACS and is designed specifically for cases like this. Instead of opening your shades on a fixed schedule, Adaptive Cover calculates the position of the sun through the day and adjusts your blinds automatically. The result is that your room stays bright without the sun ever shining directly into your eyes. It's honestly one of those automations that feels almost magical when it's configured. The setup isn't difficult, but it does take a little time. First, install the Adaptive Cover through HACS. Next, create an Adaptive Cover entity. If you have multiple windows in the same room, you can even group several blinds together so they all behave as one. Then comes the tuning. You will configure things like your window compass direction or azimuth degree, minimum and maximum openings, update interval, desired sunlight angle, opening speed, and a handful of optional parameters if you want to fine-tune the behavior. Don't worry, if that sounds like a lot, you don't have to get everything perfect on the first try. I didn't. I spent a few days making small adjustments, watching how the blinds behaved through the morning and tweaking a couple of values until everything felt natural. Honestly, this is exactly the kind of automation that justifies having a smart home. Pros. Now that we have gone through the entire experience, let's talk about what I like. And there is actually quite a bit. Full customization. This is probably the biggest strength of SmartWave. These blinds are not close enough shades. They are made specifically for your window. You choose the exact dimensions down to 1/8 of an inch. And you choose the fabric, the color, the cassette style, the hem, the motor location, the roll direction, battery or hardwired power, solar charging, remote controls, wall switches, light blockers. Honestly, there are so many configuration options that it's hard not to find exactly what you're looking for. Custom sizing and extensive configuration options are among SmartWave's biggest differentiator compared with off-the-shelf smart blinds. Material selection is next. Another thing I really liked is the fabric selection. There are dozens of materials, different colors, different textures, different opacity levels, different collections, and perhaps most importantly, you can order material samples before committing to a purchase. I wish more companies did this. Computer monitors, phones, even printed brochures. None of them show colors exactly the way they look in your home. Being able to hold the actual material next to your furniture and wall paint makes choosing much easier. Continue with build quality. Once installed, these blinds feel premium. The cassette feels solid, the brackets lock securely, nothing rattles. Nothing feels flimsy. Even the motor is impressively quiet. You definitely get the impression that these were designed as a long-term product rather than a budget smart gadget. Moving to documentation. This might sound an odd thing to praise, but good documentation saves people hours of frustration. Every step is illustrated. The instructions are organized locally. There are separate manuals for installation, pairing, remote programming, and troubleshooting. As someone who installs a lot of smart home products, I can honestly say this is better than average. Factory configuration. This was another pleasant surprise. The blinds arrive ready to use. The remote is already paired, travel limits are already configured. You don't have to spend 10 minutes teaching the motor where the top and bottom positions are. That's possible if you ever want to change them, but for most people, everything works straight out of the box. Last but not least, multi-blind control. If you're installing multiple shades in one room, this is another feature you will appreciate. One remote can control up to 15 blinds if you order the right model. A single wall switch can control multiple shades as well. That means you do not end up with a separate remote for every single window. Small feature, big quality of life improvement. Middle ground. I don't truly consider these negatives, but they're worth mentioning. First, these are custom-made products. That means you are not getting Amazon Prime shipping. My blinds took about 2 weeks from ordering to delivery. Personally, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Someone is literally manufacturing this specifically for your window. Still, if you need blinds tomorrow because you are moving into a new house next weekend, this probably isn't product for you. The second thing is measurements. You only get one chance. Measure carefully, then measure again, and maybe one more time just to be safe. Because once manufacturing starts, there is no resizing a custom blinds. Cons. Now let's talk about the downsides, and there are a few. Price is first. Let's start with the obvious one. These are not cheap. For my office window, the total came to about $476. That's a significant investment for a single window. Now, do they feel like a $476 product? I would actually say yes. The materials are excellent, the customization is excellent, the installation experience is excellent. But that doesn't magically make nearly $500 inexpensive. If you are outfitting the entire house, the total adds up quickly. So these definitely fall into the premium category. Matter over thread only. This one is a little more nuanced. I don't consider matter over thread itself to be a disadvantage, quite the opposite. I think matter is exactly where the smart home industry is heading. This may be even a pro for Apple Home or Google Home users, but given all the available customization options, I'm surprised that SmartWave does not offer Zigbee or Z-Wave or even Matter over Wi-Fi options. Connecting these blinds to your Home Assistant can require significant reconfiguration or even downgrade of your local network architecture if you don't already have a thread network. The third is thread border router requirement. Finally, these blinds use Matter over thread. That means you need access to a thread border router. The good news is many people already have one. An Apple HomePod Mini, Apple TV 4K, Google Nest Hub, Amazon Echo, several SmartThings hubs. All of these can serve as thread border router depending on the model. But if you are completely new to thread, you will need to budget for one. It's not really an extra cost caused by SmartWave. It's simply part of adopting the thread ecosystem. Fortunately, once you have one border router, it will support plenty of future Matter over thread devices as well. Final thoughts. So, after living with these blinds for several weeks, what's the final verdict? Overall, I genuinely like them. Actually, I like them more than I expected. When SmartWave first contacted me, I assumed this would be simply another set of smart blinds with a different logo on the box. Instead, what stood out wasn't just the smart home integration. It was the entire experience. The ordering process, the amount of customization, the packaging, the documentation, the installation, all feels like a company that has spent a lot of time thinking about what customers actually go through from the moment they click the order until the blinds are installed. Now comes the difficult question. Would I spend almost $500 on a blind? The answer is it depends. If you are simply looking for the cheapest way to automate a window, probably not. There are definitely more affordable options. Some of them are surprisingly good. In fact, I reviewed ThirdReality blinds recently, and for many people, they offer excellent value for the money. But SmartWave is not really trying to compete in that category. They are building a premium made-to-order product. You are paying for customization, you are paying for better materials, you are paying for a blind that manufactured specifically for your window instead of something that's close enough. And honestly, that's exactly what you get. I never looked at these blinds and thought they should have cut corners here. Everything feels like it belongs in a premium product. So, who do I think these blinds are for? I would absolutely recommend SmartWave if you want blinds that fit perfectly, you care about matching fabrics and colors, you already use Apple Home, Google Home, Alexa, SmartThing, and some Home Assistant users depending on setup. I also think these are great option if you are the kind of person who notices details. The cassette, the matching bottom bar, the motor location, the roll direction, those little choices don't change how the blinds work, but they absolutely change how they look every single day. On the other hand, I probably would not recommend these if your goal is I just want my blinds to go up and down automatically. In that case, you are paying for features you may never use. You might be perfectly happy with a simpler solution that costs considerably less. The same goes if you don't really care about matching materials or having custom dimensions. Off-the-shelf products have improved dramatically over the last few years. Ultra. Well, that's my experience with SmartWave smart blinds. I hope this review helped you decide whether they are the right fit for your home. If you have any question that I didn't cover, leave them in the comments below. I read every single comment and I will do my best to answer as many as I can. And if you already own SmartWave blinds or another brand of smart blinds, I would also love to hear about your experience. It's always helpful for other people watching the video. If you enjoyed this review, please consider giving the video a like. And if you enjoy the smart home project, home assistant, home lab builds, networking, and the occasional home improvement project, make sure to subscribe. We're still a small channel, but we are constantly working on new projects, and every new subscriber really helps motivate us to keep making these videos. Thank you so much for the watching. One project down, hundreds more to go. I will see you in the next one.